Joining us now, and as the events continue, we are going to continue our discussion, and of course we won't miss any of the key moments. Joining us now to discuss where we go in the ongoing war on terror is one of the country's leading voices on national security, Senator John McCAIN, who comes to us from Nevada. Senator, what are your thoughts on this day? What's your takeaway on this 10th anniversary of 9/11?
I think it's a time of remembrance and sorrow, and it's one that obviously changed America forever. Everybody has their special memories. One of mine, of course, is, in fact, it's interesting, his name was just read, Mark Bingham, a young man who worked on Wall Street. I'd met him. He had a picture of me and him on the wall of his office. He was on United 93 and called his mother, and I believe he was one of those that prevented the attack either on the White House or on the Capitol. I'll never forget attending a memorial service at his alma mater, the University of California at Berkeley, where, among other things, he was the captain of the gay rugby team. I'll never forget him. And the other, of course, was the World Series between the New York Yankees and the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I sat with Rudy Giuliani during that series, and out in Arizona where there was diehard Diamondback fans, his face was on the Jumbotron, and everybody in that stadium cheered America's mayor, who did a magnificent job of sorrow and calm reassurance to the American people. And so I have these special memories, but I think we have come a long way since then, and I think we can be proud of the fact that there's not been another attack on the United States of America.
Incidentally, we will be talking with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani in the next hour. A moment ago, as we marked the second plane hitting, and I think that was the moment when all of us realized this wasn't an accident, this was an act of terrorism. Did you know at that moment, 10 years ago, right away, what we were going to have to do?
To tell you the truth, I did not, and I don't think most Americans did. I do think that I'm not a great fan of commissions, but I think the 9/11 Commission, headed by Lee Hamilton and Tom Keene, did a very fine job, and they gave us a blueprint. I think that both Republicans and Democrats in both administrations have followed, and I wish we had followed all of their recommendations. There are some, including a tremendous overlap and duplication of supervision and jurisdiction in the Congress, but overall, I think we have done a very good job. And Chris, whether we should have gone to Iraq or Afghanistan, I believe we should have. Whether it's mismanaged and whether we underestimated the enormity of the challenge we face, I think historians will judge. But I don't think we should ever forget that those attacks originated in Afghanistan, and I think we did the right thing there, but I also think we've learned a lot of lessons, and frankly, I don't think you're going to see the United States of America in another war in that part of the world.
I'm going to talk about John McCain, because you have charted an independent course over these last 2 years. While generally supportive of President Bush, you sharply criticized him when it came to enhanced interrogation, which you felt crossed the line into torture. You have certainly disagreed with some of President Obama's military decisions. How have you seen your role over this last decade?
I've worked very hard to try to understand the complexities and the enormity of the challenges that America faces in the 21st century. There's more, I think, complex challenges than we've faced at any time in our history. I'm not saying they're the most serious. I'm saying they're the most complex, depending on how we handle them. On the issue of torture, and it's probably not the time to bring this up, but Abu Ghraib and the torture of prisoners hurt us a great deal and did provide a propaganda tool for our enemy, including al-Qaeda. And I regret that. But I also think that many of the things that we did achieve were very laudable, and I think we have a very different and vastly improved capability to combat this enemy than we had at this time 10 years ago.
Obviously, this anniversary is a time to look back. It's also a time to look forward. You have criticized President Obama for his decision to pull all of the U.S. surge troops, 30,000 troops, out of Afghanistan by a year from now, by next September. That'll leave 70,000 on the ground, but all the surge troops will be gone. What about the argument that we have seriously degraded the Taliban, we have eviscerated al-Qaeda, that Karzai, the president of Afghanistan, will never be a reliable partner? And the argument you hear from both Republicans and Democrats, it's time to focus on home.
Well, I certainly understand that it's time to focus on home. As you know, my state of Arizona is hurting very, very badly, and I understand why people would want to focus on home. On the issue of the troop withdrawals, I try to support the president as much as I can. These are very important issues. But there was no military person in anywhere that recommended that these withdrawals would take place before the second fighting season. There is no military person that doesn't believe we need a residual force in Iraq far in excess of the size that apparently is being planned. In Libya, that conflict could have been over a long, long time ago if we had used the full weight of American air power. You can't lead from behind in this country, and the fact is that there is a perception in the world, rightly or wrongly, that the United States is in the decline and that we are in many ways withdrawing to Fortress America. We can't afford to do that.
I want to pick up on something you said a moment ago, and I want to make sure I understood you correctly, because you talked about these two wars, and then you said, I don't believe we will get into another war in that part of the world for a long time. How can you predict that? Why would you predict that?
I don't think American public opinion would stand for it. I do believe that we have developed new ways of countering this threat. I don't think there's any doubt that al-Qaeda is back on their heels, but there are places like Yemen and Somalia and other breeding grounds where this threat will be with us for a long period of time. And by the way, could I just mention the Arab Spring is a repudiation of al-Qaeda. The Arab Spring proves that people can peacefully demonstrate and change their government, and it's a repudiation of the strategy and tactics of terror and murder that al-Qaeda has employed. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be 2 steps forward and 1 step back in the Arab world, but I think that over time that this repudiation of al-Qaeda will work to our advantage. But we're going to have problems there and issues and threats for as long as you and I are around.
Finally, and I want to pick up on that, because you wrote this week that this war on terror, will not likely end anytime soon. Even as you say we're not going to get into another one, you seem to indicate that we could be in this war on terror, and some people are suggesting for decades, comparing it to South Korea or the Cold War, a half a century.
I think that as long as there is the conditions that exist in the world, in a place like Yemen, in a place like Somalia, in other parts of Africa in particular, but really in other parts of the world, it will be a breeding ground for this kind of hatred, which has been there, but has just manifested itself with the tragedy of 9/11. So, but we have to also understand that this is also a conflict of ideas and ideals. And I am confident that the things we stand for and believe in over time will prevail over the forces of evil. But it's going to be a long, hard struggle.
Senator McCain, we're going to have to leave it on that note. Thank you so much for talking with us today, sir.
Thanks for having me on.